it's just amazing to me right now. Like everything is a that's coming out. Everything is a must see fight. Yeah, I'm not seeing any disappointing fights lined up right now. At least not the mega fights. Like when I think about it, when I sit back and think about it, when you got uh, Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez, that is a must see, action packed fight. No matter who you think is going to win, however it's going to go down, um, knockout, 12 rounds, whatever, that's still going to be a must see, action packed, barn burner fight. Then when you think about it, you got Gervonta Tank Davis versus um, Santa Cruz, another Leo Santa Cruz, another absolute must see fight. And, you know, that in and of itself is amazing. Then when you look at it, you got Jamar Charlo and Jamel Charlo. Jamel Charlo going up against Jason Rosario. Fireworks. Absolutely firework fight. You got them having, then you got Jamar Charlo, Big Charlo, going against Sergey Deverenchenko. Another action packed fight. You see what I'm saying? It's just complete, it's just lined up. Boom, 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 boom. Um, I think you got Dillian White. I forget the guy he's fighting, Prevekin or Pulev. I forget the Russian guy's name. I had to look it up. And Anthony Joshua's fighting. I can't remember who he's fighting either. Either Prevekin or Pulev. Forgive me, I apologize. Those fights aren't on my radar because the main fight on my radar right now, besides the ones I just mentioned, Errol Spence. Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. Another action-packed fight. It's like unbelievable. It damn near makes up for how bad this year has been. When I think of everything that's happened this year that just was terrible, the boxing lineup, the boxing lineup is like redemption. You know what I'm saying? It's like giving you so many things to look forward to. Um, Jamar Charlo, both pay-per-views. They're on the 26th of September. The only thing that I'm not The only thing that I'm not liking about that is I won't be in town. I'll be out in Atlanta, so I probably won't be able to watch either one of those fights. Um, but one thing that is great is Vasil Lomachenko versus um, Teofimo Lopez. That's not even going to be a pay-per-view fight. That's going to be on ESPN. So I definitely will be looking out for that, and most likely I'm going to be able to watch that as it happens. So I'm excited. And then you got little rumors of fights that might be happening, and they sound great. Like a little rumor of Adrian Broner versus a Regis Prograis. You know what I'm saying? That would be another action field fight. You know what I'm saying? So I'm loving where boxing is going right now with the lineup. You know what I'm saying? I don't see any boring fights in the future. You know what I'm saying? Everybody coming back post pandemic. Everybody is trying to put they self in the race. Um, I don't even. I watched the interview last night with Sean Porter, and I can't even remember the guy's name that he's supposed to be fighting. It didn't sound like it was much more than a tune-up. He didn't want to claim it to be a tune-up, but that's what I got from his everything he was saying. Basically, was this is going to be an easy fight. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be a tune-up. He didn't want to call it a tune-up, just like he doesn't want to call himself a gatekeeper. But Sean Porter is a gatekeeper, and I mean, he's a champion fighter. Don't get me wrong, but at this point in time, he's a gatekeeper, and that's a good thing in my opinion in the division that he's in. When you got Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Udanis Ugas, Terrence Bud Crawford, Errol Spence, the lineup is just full of competition. And I think the thing is, Sean Porter has fought most of them, all of them, if not, and he set the barometer. You know what I'm saying? They say the triangle theory doesn't work, but if you use, it depends on who you use the triangle theory for. Like somebody that's consistently being the truth teller, the truth breaker, like a Sean Porter, then when you look at Sean Porter versus Errol Spence, and you look at Sean Porter versus Danny Garcia, I feel like the triangle theory will somewhat be effective. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, I'm just sitting back and I'm watching some training footage. Oh, matter of fact, even the exhibition matches that's coming up are very enticing. You know what I'm saying? When you got Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson, lined up to fight Roy Jones Jr. If you could rewind the time and have this fight have happened 10, 15 years ago, this would have been the fight of the damn decade. But no, for real, seriously, man, Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. And on the undercard of that, you got this YouTube star, Jake Paul, versus Nate Robinson. And some people were already about to count Nate Robinson out. Let me tell you something. Nate Robinson, if he would have chose to be a boxer instead of chosen to be a basketball player or a football player, if he would have chose to be a boxer from the time he was a kid, there's no doubt in my mind he would have found some way to make himself leave a mark on the game. He would have been like a Andre Berto at the least. At the least, if Nate Robinson would have fought from the time he was a kid, he would have been at least on the level of Andre Berto or even a Sean Porter. You know what I'm saying? So I can't count him out of this fight against this. I don't know a lot about this Logan Paul guy. I think Logan Paul is the same YouTube guy that fought KSI, and I don't know about KSI either. I did watch their little fight, and it was amateur at the best. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not looking at Logan Paul like he just has all this experience and he's just going to bowl over Nate Robinson. I mean, I would expect for him to win. He has some advantages, reach advantage, a little bit of experience advantage. But at the end of the day, I can't count Nate Robinson out. But it's an exhibition. You know, I'm not expecting a whole lot either way. Just like this Roy Jones Jr. versus Iron Mike Tyson. It's an exhibition. I just expect to see they put their talents on display and exhibit their talents. I expect to see Mike Tyson ring walk to be much different than what we've seen him in the past. Like, I expect to see Mike Tyson with a smile on his face during his ring walk. I mean, he might have a stoic vibe when he gets into the ring and when he's doing the face-off, because that's kind of his that's just his kind of status quo. You know, he's going to stare you down. Some boxers these days don't even stare down anymore. Mike Tyson is going to stare you down, period. I think that's just his demeanor, his personality is part of his MO. But yeah, I still think you're going to see a much different Mike Tyson as he comes to the ring, and he has all these fans that haven't seen him fight in over like 15, 16, 20 years or whatever. I think you're going to see Mike Tyson with a big smile on his face. You know what I'm saying? Mike Tyson is like, when you watch a Shark Week commercial and you see Mike Tyson display his humor, or when you watch Mike Tyson with salt and pepper, you know what I'm saying, 8-ball leather jacket with tight patent leather pants on, doing, you know what I'm saying, push it good, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I expect to see that much more light-hearted Mike Tyson, but he's going to come to exhibit. And I think Roy Jones, you're going to see Roy Jones Roy Jones has always been a great showman. He has showmanship, so he's going to put on a show on his ring walk and everything like that. Roy Jones' ring walk might be equivalent to Apollo Creed fighting Ivan Drago, coming out with James Brown singing "Living to America." I don't think you're just going to get a boring ring walk from Roy Jones. But the fight itself, 8 rounds exhibition, I don't think you're going to see like fireworks. Are you going to see some talent? You might get some oohs and ahs. There are going to be some moments where both fighters are going to get to display signs of what they used to be in their prime. But I expect both fighters to be standing up at the end of that fight. Both fighters embracing, congratulating each other, and putting on a performance, putting on a show. And I honestly expect to see both fighters with their hands raised up at the end of that. But I expect to see, no matter who's the winner, I expect to see even Mike Tyson, if he was to win, I expect to see him go over to raise up Roy Jones Jr. hand. It's a win-win situation. It's a win for Mike Tyson. It's a win for Roy Jones, and it's a win for boxing fans. Period, point blank. So, like I said, even exhibitions lined up is great. Now, you ain't going to see all that holding hands, smiling when you're looking at Jamar Charlo and Jermell Charlo. That's going to be all about business. You're not going to see no smiling when you look at Gervonta Tank Davis. I think he's coming to take off somebody's head. Period, point blank. I think Leo Santa Cruz is a great fighter, sturdy fighter, consistent fighter, lets his punches go. Hell of a gas tank. You know what I'm saying? Any other fight, I'd be leaning towards Leo Santa Cruz. You know what I'm saying? Even with Gary Russell Jr. or somebody like that. But against Gervonta Tank Davis, if he's did everything he needs to do, you know what I'm saying? If he's not got a big head, he's not falling for his own hype, and he's training the way he's supposed to be training and sharpening up his skills the way his skills are supposed to be sharpened, I mean, he's going to come in there and cut somebody's head off. Period, point blank. That's the only way I see that happening. My only questionable fight right now that I'm kind of split on is Vasily Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. I watched some Vasily Lomachenko fights back to back, and then I watched some Teofimo Lopez fights back to back. And I mean, their gifts are on just two opposite ends of the spectrum. I don't know which way to lean. The most interesting fight, this is the last thing I'm gonna say though, in my opinion, the most interesting fight for me to watch that I'm most excited about, hands down, is the return of the Truth, Earl Spence Jr. versus Danny Swift Garcia. That's going to be the fight that caps it all off for me. If I get to see that fight, then, you know what I'm saying, all the stuff we went through this year was worth going through. And then on the flip side of that, then you still looking at the possibility, I keep hearing different things, but the possibility of the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder 3 trilogy. There you go. Boxing is better than ever. Period, point blank. Going through this pandemic, even though I did watch some fights without the audience, referee with the mask on, social distancing in the audience, some little noise playing in the background to imitate a crowd. I watched a couple of fights like that. I'm really not feeling it, but I can get into it and still enjoy a good fight no matter what. But I don't know how these fighters that shine under the lights, I don't know how they're going to fare well in the big fights without the audience. That's going to be interesting to see if it changes the game, if it changes the dynamic for Errol Spence or Danny Garcia or Gervonta Tank Davis or even the Leo Santa Cruz or any of these top fighters. Like, it's going to be hard for me to see the same fight go down with Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder if there was to be a knockout. If it's a knockout, it makes me think of that old expression, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a noise? That's the question when I look at a big fight with heavyweights, knockout artists like a Deontay Wilder fighting in an arena with no people, with no audience. That makes me think of that. If somebody was to go timber, there's a tree that falls in the forest with nobody to hear it. Does it even make a noise? It's Nocturnal Thoughts, man. Appreciate y'all time. Enjoy y'all weekend. Hit the subscribe button to all my new subscribers. I salute you. Peace.